previously on the $100 flip up challenge. So there's some good and bad news after pulling this thing apart. The good news is that this is a GTX 980. And so going forward, we're going to be selling that GTX 980. So this is going to be my plan.
Right, so that was from a Dell.
Yeah.
Notebook.
Okay.
That was from a USB drive.
Yeah.
And it was USB 2, and I'm like, this is kind of pointless.
So you just rigged this one up here.
So, no. So that was this PC.
Oh, okay.
Right? And then I bought, this? I bought this for this PC.
Yeah.
Right? But then I realized that is only, it's not PWM.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just annoying, so I can't really control the...
Welcome back to episode 2 of the $100 flip up challenge. And right here on the table, we have the remnants of a trade that we just made for the GTX 980. So in the previous episode, I was down drives, I was down a case. Since the case that we cleaned all the components out of, the case itself was just destroyed to the point where I could not use that in any gaming PC I was going to sell. People just would simply not have a bar of it when it came to buying a gaming PC with such a bad case. So I was in need of a case, 2 drives, and also a lower end graphics card compared to the GTX 980 in order to make a gaming PC flip, where we had all the other components ready to go. And so what we did was we put our GTX 980 up for sale for 300 Aussie dollars. And in that time I had, someone was interested in buying it, but then they were sort of just messaging me back and forth and they didn't sound like they were really interested. Then I got another message with someone who wanted to trade. And they had a GTX 970, but the catch was that the fan port on the graphics card wasn't working properly. And so they had done some wiring up where they had wired it to a standard 3-pin motherboard fan header, and they said the card was working absolutely fine. And so I said to them, upon doing the trade, I'll have to actually validate if the card works properly or not. And so they agreed to that, but they also had 2 cases in the deal, and they also wanted to throw $50 my way. And I said to them, well, I actually need drives, so keep the $50, and if you've got a 240 gigabyte and say a 1 or 2 terabyte hard drive, I'll be willing to do this deal. And they actually said they had a 256 gigabyte SSD and a 2 terabyte hard drive, which was perfect for me because now I've got a graphics card, a case, and also drives in order to complete a build. And they also had this right here, a UX100 RGB fan, which is actually going to work out perfectly for us when we're doing this build, because unfortunately we don't have any fans included with these cases. Well, we've got a basic fan on the office style PC case, which we're going to put aside. But this case right here, the tempered glass deep cool case, we're actually going to be throwing in some of the fans that we pulled out of the wrecked build in the previous episode, putting it in here and making good airflow. However, we're going to have no RGB. And one thing I've said in the past is if you've got no RGB, you can then use something like a ring cooler to really give the build a bit of focus and a bit of RGB, which you might be laughing, but this is important for flipping PCs. People always want some form of RGB, and if they've got the tempered glass and then they've got the main attraction RGB piece, can go a long way. Now with that aside, we have checked out the components, they are working. I will need to clean up this case a little bit right here, this deep cool case. I have to clean it out and also clean up the graphics card a little bit, even though I won't have to change the thermal paste since the temperatures were actually really good on this card, they were working fine. And then we've got the backup case right here. This is the 100R. And you may notice there's also a power supply included, but they did say that the power supply had a noisy fan. So after we've completed our gaming PC, we will check out this power supply here. Maybe there's some sort of way where we can wire up a different fan, and then we'll also have a 700 watt power supply left over, and also that Noctua cooler. We'll end up maybe trying to flip that on the side to get some extra funds needed to make our way to make the upgrade path happen to building up a better PC on that $100 budget. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get this PC built and see what we come up with.
Are you tired of seeing this annoying activate Windows message? Then if so, today's video sponsor SCD Keys has you covered. For as little as $14 using the coupon code BFTYC, you can get activated today. Works for Windows 11 Pro too. Links in the description below.
Unfortunately, we've come into a bit of a problem, and that is this 850 watt power supply won't fit in this build. It's just going to be too much of a hassle where the cables will either be running in the build, or if we try and jam it in, we could cause a problem. So we're actually going to sideline this power supply and try and fix the power supply that came with the other build with the noisy fan. Since that's a 700 watt, it's also got a much smaller base. So that should fit in this build fine, providing this noisy fan isn't too hard of a fix. So we just tested out this power supply on the power supply tester. It came up fine, and then I checked the fan, and the fan sounds absolutely fine to me. And I'll let you guys have a quick listen. You can let me know if it sounds bad. So now after messing around with this drive, unfortunately, I think the drive might be dead. So this is kind of like throwing a bit of a curveball in our plans, because I did want to have a complete PC finished that would be able to game absolutely no problems. And just having a 256 gigabyte SSD, sure, like I could sell the gaming PC like that, but what I do is I'm going to replace this drive with our remaining, we got $25 left over, but I've managed to get a drive for $20. It's just a 1 terabyte drive. So we're gonna put that in and then complete this build, run some stress tests, and then put it up for sale. And with all that out of the way, we have a PC that is actually relatively quiet. I thought the noise would be a problem, but it's not. I'll let you guys take a quick listen. And what we're gonna do now is, I guess, take some nice pictures of this rig. And since it is thunderstorming outside, we might as well get some thunderous B-roll of the system too. And here we are now coming to a close on episode 2, where I feel like I was just made to do this kind of stuff, where we're taking nothing and we're turning it into something. And what we've got right now is a GTX 970 gaming PC with a 6600K and 16 gigabytes of RAM, the 2 drives, everything looks pretty sleek. I mean, we're going for this whole stealth look, and it's not really by choice. That's all we could really come up with. And turning this gaming PC in now, I'm gonna give you guys my price that I will list this for and what I'm gonna try and do with the sale. And that is, I'm gonna try and sell this gaming PC for 600 Aussie dollars. And if we can get that for it, that'll mean that we'll now have a new starting balance and not only have a bigger buffer to start taking more risks, but also we've still got an 850 watt power supply, a Noctua D15 cooler, one 14 centimeter fan, the Corsair fan, and we've also got a wireless card that we pulled out originally out of the build. And so what I'm going to do is in the ad, I'm going to add the option to get wireless on the PC for an extra $20. And some people might cringe or frown at that, but I mean, every dollar counts at this budget. As we saw with that hard drive, we were able to replace the hard drive with a 1 terabyte because we had a little bit of extra money left over. So every dollar does count, especially at this low end where there's not really a whole lot of wiggle room, but at least we had a little bit of wiggle room to complete this PC, and we've still got also a case left over, another Corsair, I think it's the 100R that got thrown in with that trade. But I'm kind of thinking with that case, if we come into some real cheap parts, we could put together perhaps an office PC or a really low-end gaming PC, but we've got some options, plus we've got this gaming PC to sell. So do let us know in the comment section below what you're thinking so far, what you would do personally. Would you change the cooler perhaps from the RGB to the D15? I think personally the RGB with the 6600K is a really good match. That D15, we could use that in a higher end build in the future, so it does give us a lot more options. So that's it for episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button. And also, if you want to see the tech videos as soon as they drop, be sure to hit that sub button and ring that bell, where episode 3, we're going to have a bigger buffer and we're going to be able to take some more risks and see what kind of magic we can start pulling off now that we've got through the most difficult hurdle of the series, and that's starting off at the bottom with the $100. So really glad that we've got this far. We've got a PC that's ready to flip, and hopefully going forward, I mean, hopefully there's no problems with the PC too. That's one thing that's sort of out there at the moment, is you got to sell the PC and guarantee it, but I think it'll be fine. Everything seems like it's in pretty good nick and pretty good shape, and we ran some benchmarks and we did a stress test on it, and it's looking absolutely fine. And the temperatures as well, they're really well controlled. So super happy with how this build came out. And also, if you guys have any questions or comments, then be sure to drop a comment down below, where we've got the question of the day here, which comes from J Deviant Black. And they ask, "Hello Brian, I'm not into laptops, but you do mention for not buying the 6500 XT. I got one for $170 with a guarantee. It was only 3 days from the purchase. Do you think it's a bad buy? I didn't like it though. Couldn't have a smooth experience in Apex Legends on an X79 platform. Keep it real, mate. Thanks for the content." So as we pointed out in a previous video where we tested out the 6500 XT on older platforms, PCIe 3, PCIe 2, the card just struggles in certain games. The 6500 XT needs PCIe Gen 4, but even then, because it's got such a gimped memory bus, it'll have problems even on PCIe Gen 4. So I just don't like this card. The fact that you're having problems in Apex Legends, which for me personally, the testing that I've done here at my studio, Apex Legends is one of the best optimized games on PC, bar none. So you should be getting a very smooth experience with a 3930K or a 4930K, sorry, and also a decent graphics card, because that game is just, usually it's just absolutely smooth on a lot of different configurations. So the 6500 XT, when I was testing it in that game though, it did give out some stuttering. So if I was you, I'd probably just try and resell it. You might be able to probably get what you paid for it back, and I'd just go for a different graphics card. Even a GTX 970, I would rather that than a 6500 XT. So that's saying, or should I say that's not saying a lot for the 6500 XT. Anyhow, hopefully that answers that question, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out for now. Bye.